Story time! So over the last few years, I've had a lot of people ask me how I actually landed the role of Bob in Spooky Month. And the short answer is luck. And I say that mainly because the circumstances of how everything came into play were just really luck. Like it was kind of like the luck of the draw, seriously. But going into detail, this is how I landed the role of Bob. So a few years ago, I worked on a podcast called the Newgrounds Podcast. I was very fortunate to be a host of the show for about a year and a half or so. And in one of the episodes, I got to interview Pelo. It was me and our co-host and Pelo. It was just the three of us. We chatted with him for probably a little over an hour. And the episode's really fun. It was really cool. That was my first interaction with Pelo. You can actually go to Newgrounds.com right now, go to my profile, and you can find it in the list of audio projects I've been a part of. And it was a really good episode. And throughout that episode, we're just chatting, laughing, having a good time. He knows I'm a voice actor. Like, it was brought up that I do voices. And, I did my Moki, voice for him. He's like, because he was talking about how his voice hurts whenever he does Moki. I'm like, well, I could probably fill in for you if you need to. Like, man, Moki! And he's like, wow, that was pretty good. So after all of that, I just jumped on a Discord DM with him. I said, hey man, it was great having you on the show. We got to have you back on sometime. It was really cool chatting with you and get to know you a little bit. And, he's like, oh, thanks for having me on. It's really cool. Love Newgrounds, all that cool stuff, which is awesome. And, I just tossed my hat in the ring and said, hey man, I'm going to be forward with you. I'm just going to put myself out on the ledge here and say, I would love to work with you on any future projects. You could see that I'm a voice actor, love doing voices. I love your work. I've been a fan of you for a while. If you ever need help with voices in the future, I'd love to lend my voice. And he said, absolutely, man. He goes, I'm always on the lookout for new voice actors. So I'm going to put you on a list and we'll reach out to you. I'm like, cool. That was back in 2021 because later that year, episode 4 Spooky Month released and I didn't hear anything. Which was, it was sad. I wanted to work with him, and he didn't promise anything, though, so that's the thing. So I'm like, okay, well, if I'm on his list, maybe eventually he reaches out. And sure enough, next year in 2022, in February, one of his producers reached out to me and said, hey, just to let you know, Corey, Pelo's interested in having you voice his antagonist for episode 5. Are you interested? I'm like, duh! So they gave me some sample lines to audition with, and they gave me a few just work in progress illustrations of what Bob's going to look like in the new episode. So they gave me more so bust of what he looks like. And the weird thing was the majority of the illustrations were him in his regular attire. It wasn't him in his, the Devil Butcher disguise. There was only one picture where it was him in his Devil Butcher disguise, and it was just a bust. And I'm like, okay, cool. And I put a bunch of different auditions together, or just a bunch of different voices in the audition. One was just my regular voice, did you know if you eat a human brain, you'll get a disease similar to mad cow? And the audition, I with every audition line, I always had a Southern accent. I wanted to have Bob with a Southern accent just because I felt like it would fit him really well. And I did just very natural sounding, and then it started progressing and getting really crazy. Did you know if you eat a human, super hillbilly, and it was god awful. I actually posted a video of those audition lines so you can actually go and listen to what Bob could have sounded like. And Pelo got back to me and said, hey man, we love the auditions, but we don't want him to be super crazy. I love the Southern accent. Can you just drop the voice a little bit lower and make him sound just very creepy? I said, yeah, no problem. And sure enough, I sent him a file going, did you know if you eat a human brain, you'll get a disease similar to mad cow? And he goes, oh my gosh, that's it. That's perfect. Dude, do you want the role? And I said yes, and the rest is history. So it was just really luck. I didn't submit to a bunch of different auditions. It wasn't a big old casting call of 1,000 people, and I was the very fortunate one to land the role. No, it was just all by happenstance. I met him via a podcast, told him I would love to work with him. He said, cool, I'll put you on a list. The following year, they reached out and said, hey, do you want to audition? Absolutely. Gave them some audition lines, and they said, make an adjustment. I made an adjustment, and I was cast. And that's the story. And like I said, stupid son, the rest is history. And it's been an awesome 2 years so far. So hope you like the story. Good night.